Hey Boulder Mountain, Kyle here, Midweek Devotional. It's a big week in the life of our church as we celebrate live Nativity December 10th and 11th, 6 to 8 p.m. Would you continue to pray and invite? There's somebody you and I know that woke up today wondering if there is any purpose to life, wondering if there is any hope for them. And you and I know what the answer is to that question. There is hope. There's a passage we're going to look at this weekend in service. It's in Luke chapter 1 as we continue our series called The Cast of Christmas. We're actually going to look at the first character mentioned in the Christmas story in Luke chapter 1. It's Zechariah, priest named Zechariah. And Luke, as he introduces Zechariah, tells us that it is in the time of Herod. Now, why does Luke tell us that? Luke is extremely detailed as he presents the Christmas narrative, the birth of Jesus, the account. It's in the time of Herod. Now, any reader, when they heard that, would understand that that meant it was a dark time. Culturally, it was a dark time. They hadn't heard from God in 400 years. And then you have an evil and wicked king, King Herod. It was said in other writings that it was better to be Herod's pig than his own son. That's how evil Herod was. And this is where the culture is in the day that the Christmas story is presented, in the time that Jesus shows up. The world was a dark place. Now, you and I might relate to that. We might think how evil our culture is, how dark our culture is. And yet, the character we're going to look at this weekend, Zechariah, it says, a priest, in Luke chapter 1, it says he was righteous before God and blameless before God. What's that mean? He knew God, he obeyed God, and he worshiped God. No matter how dark our culture gets, you and I still have a choice to be faithful to him. And what does that look like? What does it look like to be a light in a dark culture, in a dark world? Well, one way we can do that is by pointing people to the hope of Jesus. Two great opportunities we have to do this Christmas season. One of them is the live nativity. Again, there's people in our life that they don't know. Maybe they've never heard the good news of great joy for all people. Maybe they need to be reminded of that. Maybe they've never been to church. They've never had a friend love them enough to invite them, to point them to Jesus. You and I have an opportunity to do that. Live nativity, again, 6 to 8. And then we have another opportunity later in the month on Christmas Eve, 4 and 5:30 p.m. Who can you invite? Who can you say, hey, join me, join our family, come to service with us. Maybe invite them over for a meal afterwards or go to a meal beforehand. Have them over to your home. Build relationships with people far from God because they're looking for hope in a dark world. Just like when Jesus came. It was a dark culture in a dark world. I want to say thank you to all of you who've played a part in Live Nativity. You began meeting months ago. You've been praying. You've been planning. You've been meeting. You've been leading. Thank you for that. We're going to see the results and the fruit of that this weekend. Thank you for those of you who have brought cookies. And just a reminder, if you raised your hand in service a couple weeks ago, you can bring those cookies Friday evening or Saturday. You can bring those cookies. I think we have about half of what we need. We have 100 dozen. We need a total of 200 dozen. It's going to be a great weekend. I'm looking forward to my first Boulder Mountain Nativity, and I look forward to seeing you here. Live Nativity and then Sunday service as we look at Zechariah and Elizabeth. Have a great rest of your week.